Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Dementia Chats. I'm Laurie the founder of Alzheimer's Speaks and Dementia Chats. My mom had dementia for 30 years, started in her mid-50s, and lived to the age of 86. And I am just passionate about raising the voice of those living with dementia. My mom taught me so much, and I have learned so much through people who are actually diagnosed with this disease. I think more people need the opportunity to meet and have conversations with people with dementia, and that's really one of the primary reasons I started Dementia Chat. So we're going to go ahead and go kind of around the circle here and have everybody introduce themselves, and then we will start our conversation. Paulan, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Paulan Gordon. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was diagnosed at age 57 with dementia, probably of the vascular origin, and I spend a lot of my time in a variety of advocacy efforts.
Okay, great. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian LeBlanc. I'm 55 years old in Pensacola, Florida. I was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's in October of 2014, and I spend my time advocating on a national and local basis and also through social media.
Great, thank you. Laurie?
Hi, my name is Laurie Scherrer, and at the age of 55, I was diagnosed with dementia believed to be early onset Alzheimer's and FTD. I do a lot of writing and try as much as possible to help people that were just diagnosed to get a grip on life and realize that they can still have some life, just a different life.
Great, thank you. Susan?
Hi, my name is Susan Suchan. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was diagnosed 8 years old, early onset Alzheimer. And about 4 years ago, FTD PPA. I advocate for awareness of the lived experience through social media and through film.
Great, thank you. Michael?
My name is Michael Ellenbogen. I am 58 years old. I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 49 after struggling for 10 years to get a diagnosis. I now spend a little of my time advocating for the cause.
Great. Thank you all for being here today. Before we start our conversation, Paulan was involved in a PBS special, and it's finally aired last night. It's an hour long. It's absolutely terrific. Do you want to say a few words? I put in the chat box the link for the video. People can go out and watch.
Sure. I think it was a very interesting video. They had a lot of statistics, and a lot of the focus was on caregivers and what they have to endure and go through, and the lack of support that's available for caregivers. I think that one of the things I was very happy about is that they included me, a person with dementia, in the discussion, because so often we are left out of the discussion.
Yep, agree. And they really took a wide net on this topic, I think, in terms of different types of aspects, from respite to impacts on family to care. You could see some of the emotions bubbling up as well as statistics. I think they did a really nice mix of information there and resources. So we were hoping our Dementia Chats was going to be part, but we got cut to the floor apparently. But that was okay, because they had another thing that was similar that kind of showed the power of social media and interaction, which was great. The other thing I just wanted to highlight was Pat Summitt's passing. And Pat is a well-known basketball coach, just diagnosed 5 years with the disease, so she went quite quickly. And it's just it's kind of sad. It's a way though that it again raises the awareness through kind of celebrity again. And I know for me personally, as much as I respect all individuals with this disease, no matter if they're the common man or a celebrity, it would be, I know, a lot of advertising and leveraging that is done with trying with awareness is done through celebrities. And personally, I would just like to see them embrace the kind of the common person with dementia, hand in hand when they're using their celebrity status, because I think the face of the everyday person is being missed. I think the struggles of the everyday person is also missed because most of us don't have the resources that many of the celebrities do. So I think there's a different vantage point that needs to be addressed with that. But, Pat did a lot of great things in terms of raising awareness and would never, ever take that away from her. Same with her son, standing up beside, his mom. I remember when she did the first testing and he made some comment, well, of course she failed. My mom's never been good at math. Where's the people questions? Where's the team building questions? She would excel at that. Because that's who she was at her core. And so I thought that was pretty interesting for a college student to be able to see the differences in terms of testing and what happens there. Anybody want to add anything to kind of that celebrity status or the passing of Pat?
I just want to say, I'm very thrilled that she came out and announced what she had. I did research one time on the number of celebrities or famous people that had a dementia disease and just totally went in a closet, never let anybody know about it. So kudos to her and her family for being upfront and honest. I wish more would do that.
Yeah.
And while it did, I'm happy of the fact that that her with her coming out with the disease, Glenn Campbell's family coming out with the disease, Kim Williams Paisley coming out with a book that she wrote about her mother with Alzheimer's, the Rogans. The celebrity star power does make people more aware, and that's to our advantage because it brings to light of the disease. But it's funny because not funny, but we can do the same type of advocating, but we don't get the type of attention that they do. So sometimes we do have to rely on others to bring to light which we so passionately believe in. But I thank all of them for doing what they do, because we could be a little bit more in the dark than what we are now. We still have a long way to go, but they have helped bring this to light.
Yeah, I think with family members, again, I get it because I'm one, and that's why I started Alzheimer's Speaks, but I'm not a celebrity per se.
Oh, in our mind, you are.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh gosh, I'm so lifted now.
I just wanted to add too, I think that the stars coming out and proclaiming their dementia, it shows us a lot about how the stigma of dementia, that there are famous people, there are people who have had successful careers that have done wonderful things, and they have dementia. So I think that's an important part of it too, is to put down that stigma a little bit.
Oh, I think that's huge. I would still like to see advertising embraced, kind of how Jerry Lewis did with his fundraisers, where he would use the celebrity power, but he always had the person, the kids diagnosed were there. They were the story, and they were allowed to tell their different stories and impact. And I think the merging of those two would be huge. I'm kind of surprised there really hasn't been a telethon, for this disease, for as big as it is. But maybe we'll get there one of these days, or maybe I missed it. I don't remember. I don't know. That could be too. Well, let's kind of get to the crux of what we were chatting about prior to going live here. We were talking about the importance of routines and how we really want the public to understand why it is so critical for a person with dementia to have good routines and to be able to adapt, because we all, you know, throughout life we're always adapting, and you know, our goal, I think, for most of us is to try to find that sense of comfort, you know, in a routine that feels good to us, that meets our needs. And that doesn't change when a person has dementia. You're still trying to find, I think, that comfort zone. But the importance of the routine, I think, raises way up, because without it, you become stressed and lost and frustrated and those types of things. So let's talk about that. Brian, if you wouldn't mind starting, you were telling us a story about doing the laundry and the towels earlier, and I thought that was a perfect part to start with.
Yeah, you know, we talk about in our previous lives what we used to have jobs, and we did certain things. Well, being that I've been retired, not by choice, since 2013, you know, my wife works, and so now I do chores around the house, and one of them is doing the laundry. Now, I actually like to do the laundry because it's a routine. You know, you first sort clothes, and then you put the clothes in the washer, and then in the dryer, and you either hang them up or fold them up or whatever. Well, I always wait till last to do the towels. And so I put the towels in, and I just wash our clothes. I don't wash, the kids are responsible for theirs. And so I have 4 towels, and my wife has 4 towels. Well, I washed them, dried them, folded them. My stack had 4, hers had 3. And it's like, okay, why do I only have 3 towels? I know there's 4 because that's how many there are. Every time I wash the clothes, there's 4 and 4. Well, for the next hour and a half, I searched and searched and searched the house to try to find the towel. Now, when I called my wife at work, because it was very important for me to find that towel, she explained to me that it's just a towel. She goes, I may have brought it to work, or I may have got some hair dye on it, because her towels are white. And she goes, I may have gotten something on it and just thrown it away and just forgot about it. And she just, I think she was trying to help me make sense of the situation. But for me, being that was part of my routine, that became not a part of my routine. That became something that I failed to do in performing that routine. And so it was my responsibility to find that towel, which I never could find. And it completely, and still it bothers me now, because there's no towel. And she said, I can go buy another one. I said, but that's not the point. I said, what happened to the towel? You know, I want to find out. But now the good thing is that probably in another day or two, I won't remember there not being a towel until the next time I do laundry. Then it's going to happen all over again. So hopefully when she buys another towel, inserts it into her stack, then I'll have 4 towels again, and everything will be fine with my world.
Yeah. Yeah, a small thing, but huge. You know, something that we wouldn't think would trigger that much thought and that much concern, and that much. It almost sounds like self-doubt. You know,
well, it has to be, because in our world, we have to have routine because, Laurie and I were talking, beforehand, and we talked about in the working world, we had routines. Now that we're no longer there, we're here, we have to have those routines in order to live our lives as well as we can. So anytime we develop these routines, we make reminders about these routines, we do as much as we can to try to make not only our lives, but the lives of our family as good as we can. Mm-hmm. But all it takes is that little bitty speck. It reminds me of the speck of dust that was on the Hubble telescope that completely skewed the view of everything. A little speck of dust or a little tiny thing can completely throw everything off. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of we react in different ways, and sometimes they're not pleasant. Mm-hmm. So
now, Laurie, you shared I thought a really good thing earlier about your routine before going to bed and how your husband helps you, and the insight of your care partner, your husband, going, let's create this so this woman can get some sleep. And it's very simple but really important. Can you share what you guys have come up with?
We found at night I would check the doors like 4 or 5 times. And then we have in our kitchen, we have a light switch at each end of the room. One day I went to turn off the light. I went to do close up. I pushed the button down and the light went on. I pushed it up and it went on. And this just sent me into a total tither. I couldn't think. I didn't think the house was locked up. I couldn't sleep. Well, we then noticed that and the reason it did that was because the other switch was on the opposite direction. So that made this switch in the wrong way. What we found was that I really need a routine in order for my mind to settle down and say everything's done. So every night when we're ready to go to bed, I take the dogs out. While I'm out with the dogs, my husband goes around and makes sure every light switch is in the on position where it's supposed to be. The curtains are open, the lights are on, because my routine is I come in the house, I turn off the outdoor light, I close the curtain, I close the other curtain, etc. As long as I do that routine every night, I might check it twice sometimes. Sometimes I have to double check, but after I check it twice, my mind is settled. I don't have the problem of, oh, it's not done, the house isn't locked up. I don't have the problem of laying in bed worrying or getting up and going out to check again. Just that simple routine of him making sure everything is in the exact same position. So when I come in from walking the dogs, I just follow the same routine. We found another routine with Nyquil and Mouthwash. My bathroom was always set up the same way. And one night I went to gargle and I'm choking on the mouthwash. I'm going, oh, this is terrible. I was gargling with Nyquil. Somebody had moved the position of the bottles. And those type of routines, things being in the same spot, things being set up so that our mind connects is so important. Another one, I couldn't remember how to make a bed. I have 2 beds. I was making the king size bed. I had no problem. Every time I went to make the queen size bed, I couldn't figure out how to make the bed. I couldn't remember. And then I'd get all upset and cry and I'd be all confused. Well, after how I make the king size bed and my frustration with the queen size bed, I need sheets with stripes. I can't follow a sheet without stripes. And so again, learning what was wrong, it was an easy fix. Now my husband doesn't have to make the queen size bed anymore. I can do it myself. But sometimes people don't realize, but the smallest thing can set us into a state of confusion, not knowing emotions, and it oftentimes is something that's so simple and can be fixed.
Mm-hmm. That was brilliant to figure out the stripes on the sheets, you know, because it's like, where's the start, where's the end, where's the corner, you know, those things. So yeah, that was great. A great way to just see what's going on. How about you, Susan? Do you have certain routines that are helpful for you?
I have noticed as of late, I have always, prior diagnosed, been a very routine-oriented person. I have like a photographic memory, and if things are not in the same place, then they're just gone. They're just gone. So I'm kind of picky about that. Knowing that and living with not my house, some other, I cannot expect them to adhere same as me. So keeping things completely separated so that what's mine is mine, and if they like their side all jibbery jabbery, I don't have to concern myself with that, because mine will be all lined up and perfectly labeled and in the exact same spot. As in routine, I needed routine when early diagnosed. I don't really can't explain exact why. I have found that it's not so much really the routine as I guess it would be considered routine. I don't have like a preconceived idea of how a day would go. I don't have reminders. I don't have a checklist. That's why I miss out on a lot of things. That ability to create that routine is obscuring from me. And so, and that took me months to even recognize that. But I do now. And so I think instead of having that set routine, what could throw me off is if a sister does not go work Monday, then it's Saturday. Because that would the day be home her. If someone was asking me, did you eat today? I wouldn't know necessarily, and instead, because I don't know, that would just probably just frustrate or anger me. Routine is a little becoming, I'm creating a different kind of routine. Learning to, it's not as structured as I was once able to always be. So recognizing that finally, oh, that's what that is. Now just, I can't create structure in my day in the way that I'm familiar with. So I am learning to create a new kind of structure. And I don't know what that's going to look like or how those around me are going to react to it. But it's a constant learning experience for everyone involved. So day is the sun out, night is the go bed.
Mhm.
It's pretty much that basic for me. Anything in between there is surprise. And that's okay.
Thank you, Susan. How about you, Michael? Do you have set routines that you follow, or?
Well, I have to tell you, before my AD, I used to hate having a routine. I found that very boring. However, since my Alzheimer's, I feel so much more comfortable following a routine and doing the same thing over and over, which it would drive me berserk in the past to do something like that. Nowadays, when I don't follow this similar routine and something just suddenly pops up, I really get very frustrated and aggravated, and I don't even understand why, to be honest with you. I don't understand why these little tiny things just throw me off, but they do. Like just for an example, if we're used to going shopping with my wife at a certain time on Saturday and she changes that, that just throws me off. I just don't like doing it, and I get very upset about it. And it makes no sense why I become that way, but unfortunately, that's what has arisen, out of this disease. And for me, as you know, I do a lot of advocacy, and I'm always thrown off because I always have to go here, go there, and I know I plan for these things, but they do throw my whole entire day off when I have to go to Capitol Hill or to go to somewhere else that I'm not used to doing regularly. This is what I'm used to doing, sitting at my terminal every single day, and that's it. That's pretty. But when I have to do something different, it just throws my whole entire day off, and I can never seem to get a good handle on that day when I do that, unfortunately. But it's a fact of life for me, and I realize it, unfortunately, that this is just the way it is.
So when you travel, how and let's say you have to go stay at a hotel or something, is there an adjustment period to the room for you, or is it just kind of haywire?
It's kind of haywire, and I just have to go with it. I mean, I realize it, but it's crazy because I used to travel all the time, and that was never an issue. I mean, I go to a hotel now, it's like so overwhelming, and just getting there and coming back, and just to leave that hotel, there's like so much I have to go through just to figure things out, and it's so frustrating that you would think something so small and so little has such an impact on your life anymore. Again, there's nothing you can do about it other than just kind of go along with the flow, but that's easier said than done.
One of the things that I found, Shannon actually does this for me now. When you check into the hotel, they give you the little door keys in a little cardboard holder thing with the room number on it. She takes her key out of it and leaves mine in it, and it goes into my pocket, because I cannot tell you how many times I have not only searched the wrong floor, but had no idea what room I was in. So now she gives me my little thing with the room number on it, but it's still getting acclimated to, in the middle of the night when you wake up, you have no idea where you are. Where's the bathroom? Where's this? Where's that? And you're discombobulated. And so sometimes I have to wake her up and say, where are we? What's going on? And it's just part of trying to live as best as we possibly can. And that's what's, to me, that's important, because that's not only important for me, but it's important to my family also.
I have something that may help with that, what we found anyway. We went away for a week with my family, and the first night we didn't have a dresser in our room. So we hung up what we could, but basically my clothes, it was in the middle of the summer, so it was shorts and stuff. They were in the suitcase. The first day of our vacation, I was totally disoriented, totally off, totally emotional. Couldn't figure out why. So Roy and I sat in the room and we tried to figure out what was going on. It was a suitcase. So we got a dresser, and once my things were organized, that my undies were all together, my socks were all together, whatever, I was fine the rest of the week. So now when I go away, when I went to the FTD conference, first thing I do is unpack my suitcase and put the items in the drawer the same way as I have them at home. That absolutely helps me have a way better time than if I don't organize it first.
Interesting. Very good. Yeah, because I know a lot of people, as they progress, they say travel is really difficult, and just getting used to the room and the bathroom and where's your clothes and, you know, all those little simple pieces. Paulan?
I just wanted to add, a lot of people, what we're talking about today is routines and how we need them, or how we've had to make adaptations to our environment since we've been diagnosed. I just want to make the point, I guess, that there's 2 points. One is that we have a long time period between the time we're diagnosed to the end stage. And so there's a long time period that we have to live kind of in this limbo land, and we have to learn how to adapt to our limbo land, whether it's being with routines or lists or whatever we need to do. And I think that it's very important for people who are newly diagnosed to pair up with people who have been diagnosed for a while, so that they can help them, guide them through this maze, and help them learn how to adapt, learn how to set up new routines if that's what needs to be done. I just want to put a plug in for dementiamentors.org. That's a wonderful program. It really is. I mean, it takes people that are newly diagnosed, pairs them with one person that's been diagnosed for a while, and they teach each other. You know, and I think it's just a wonderful program.
It definitely is, and I was going to mention that, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because you know, the people shouldn't have to go through this alone. And I know even with my mom, you know, I would have advice, but I didn't have the disease. You know, I was just trying to guess from what I was seeing what was going on. But I can imagine how helpful that would have been for her to talk to somebody who actually gets it, feels it, has done it, tried this, you know, done this, all of those types of things, to just give kind of a peace and a calmness that you're not alone and that this is normal. I remember Adina, you know, Dotson, talk about you know, her routines. And one of the things that was, I think, really frustrating for her as her disease progressed was, she said, you know, I got to the point where I can't adapt. There aren't other changes I can make. And, you know, for her, she ended up taking her life and planned it with her family. And you know, it was really quite a beautiful thing in terms of death with dignity. And I'm not encouraging people to do that, but I'm just saying she just got to the point where she felt she couldn't live if she wasn't able to adapt anymore and fit in, which is really sad. And I mentioned that because I want people to understand the importance of the routine, of adapting, of supporting, of helping be the eyes and the ears to look for those little things that might ease things. And work as a team, you know, it's really important that we do that, because the loss of, you know, what I hear you guys saying, I mean, it's massive. It's massive, and we need the public to understand how important that that sense of comfort and safety is to all of us, and the right we all have to that. And you know, having dementia is no different. It's adapting different. It's looking through a different lens in terms of support. Laurie, and then Brian.
Well, I do a lot of blog writing, and I get more responses from caregivers as I share my story, saying, thank you so much. I never knew my loved one felt this way. You helped me to understand them. I get more of those than I do from people living with dementia. because caregivers don't understand what their loved one's going through, but they want to. They want to try and help. So I think it is important for us to get involved with other people with dementia, as well as help out the caregivers.
Yeah.
They don't know what this is like. So it's our job to help them learn what this is like.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Brian, you had a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to add on what Michael was saying, because he said something that continually strikes a chord, in that something happens, like, you know, the shopping routine. Okay, if his wife changes the time of leaving or whatever, and he gets aggravated, and he has no idea why. My wife and I have had so many conversations regarding that same exact thing, in that I try to explain to her, I don't know why I get angry or confused or irritated, but I do, because it's not within that routine. That's why, you know, Laurie, you just talked about the caregivers, you know, responding to you. I get the same thing, because people do not understand what we go through. That's why it's so important, I think, for this type of platform, to talk about what we go through. But then again, talking about and experiencing it are two different things. There are only, my sister is probably the only one in my family that has experienced my meltdown. No one else in my family, my extended family, my brothers, have seen that. They've seen it with my mother. Now, they saw it in me, it would probably scare the hell out of them. But because it would revert back to my mother. My friends, there's only a couple of people that have seen that, because these are the people that interact with me. The people that don't really interact on a continual basis, especially in person, they're not going to see this. They're not going to see the discombobulated thing, because most of the time when I see them, it's scheduled, so I know I'm going to see them. So I know there's not going to be a surprise. It's the unexpected that happens, and that's the side. I think that's the side of Alzheimer's that people don't understand. They don't get, and I don't know if they ever will, but I think by more and more people talking about it, and seeing it, I'm doing a series with my local news station right now that we're going to be doing the 3rd segment in September. And I told her, I always tell her, I said, I hope when you come, I'm having a really bad day. And she says, why? I said, because I want you to see that. I want to show, I can't act it out, you know. I said, or maybe tell me we're going to do something and then go in the opposite direction and completely confuse me. I want people to see that reaction, to show them that this is what it does to people. Because we're not always bright, shiny, happy faces. You know, we're just not. We are still human. We still live as well as we can. But there's that other side that only a very few select people see. And for my sake, I wish that they wouldn't have to see that.
Okay. Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think one thing that really needs to come out of this, and important, especially for caregivers to understand, and I've heard so many caregivers say, well, it's not worth telling the person ahead of time that they're going to do something because they're not going to remember anyway. And the one thing that, with this disease, you don't want to do things spontaneously. If you know you're going to plan on doing something with your loved one, I think it's important to tell them about what you're planning on doing ahead of time and not wait till the last minute to do something, because the more they're prepared that you want to do something, the better things will go. And, you know, that's one thing that just irks me, because I read a lot of these blogs, and they're always saying, well, I'm not going to tell them till we're ready to go because they're going to get all upset about the thing. Well, I think they're going to get more upset about it if they don't know it's coming and they do it. So I think it's very important that if you have somebody who tends to forget, to mention it to them multiple times. Hey, we're going to do this at 3 o'clock. We're going to go out and do this, and just keep reminding them, because that, I believe, will make things better rather than worse.
Mm-hmm. I think part of it depends on where somebody is in the disease. My mom was one who always liked to know ahead of time, but then she, like, if she was going to the doctor, then she would worry. And she was really worried she was going to miss the appointment, or worried why she was going to the doctor. She was worried that she was sick. And so we found as a family that wasn't healthy for her. And so we ended up waiting. Earlier on in the disease, it was fine, because she was like, okay, good, we're going to the doctor, you know, and I'd ask questions. Are we going today? Are we going now? And that was okay. But when it started to cause her stress, that's when we as a family started changing when we would notify her, because, but that was later on in the disease itself. And even we got to the point with her where she always liked to make sure she had her mammogram and her physical and her eye test. I mean, she was always on top of all that stuff. But she got to the point where it scared her to go out of the building. You know, that got to be too big of an adjustment for her to go to the doctor's office. So we ended up switching the doctor to be right in the nursing home, and that brought her so much more peace. It was amazing how agitated she got trying to get ready and trying to be on time, and just because she didn't have the ability to know when she was going, and she was so fearful she was going to miss an appointment because she was just kind of that punctual person, you know. So for her, it got to a point where that's why we chose not to say something ahead of time.
Well, I think for me personally, having to convey that as things change, like you say, it will be maybe one way for a while, and then that may change. And you might not even realize it until you're getting some kind of feedback, maybe family. They think I'm angry, or I'm not well, or generally they think I'm just angry. And what it is they're overloading me with too much info. And I'm desperately trying to categorize it or put it in a time frame, or even just make sense of that. So we experiment with a week out. Would you want to know what your schedule look like? What activity planning you? We tried that while. Did no work. Gone. Poof. So let's go back to the drawboard. And right now we're at the day before. Please say something keep me track. I desperately don't want to appear angry, or I want to look functional and show up when supposed to be. So I appreciate that help or reminder. And then I might need another reminder 15 minutes prior to the event. Okay. But because I am able to work with them, accepting their guidance, their prompts without, and they receive my feedback in a positive way. There is no anger. There is no so big surprise. I can function in a way that is familiar, more so than what the heck is going on, and blah blah, that chaos that can be created from lack knowledge or just forget. So I think it take working together with whoever is helping you that for each person, and how that work for you. Where are you? Do you do well with a month in advance? You would feel good, and then they kind of keep, or would that maybe, like your mom, look, you start ruminating over it and it becomes something bigger than it really is, and then they have to deal with how to calm that down.
Mhm.
So I think it can be a very individualized, to me that comes down for communicate,
Mhm.
if all possible. They learning and I learning as go way go.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. It is very individual, and but there are a lot of people that I think start where Michael was talking about. Well, I'm just not going to tell them because they don't remember. Well, it's more than that. I mean, the reason's got to be more than that, because that's the same excuse people say. Well, I'm not going to visit because they won't remember. I'm not going to engage because they won't remember. We need to teach people to look for the signs and the signals, and try to figure out what's going to bring, that comfort, and what's going to work the best for everybody involved. Laurie, did you have some comments? You look like you wanted to say something.
No, I didn't, but I'm always able to come up with a comment, of course. I will say, we both have iPads, and they're sunk together. I forget the word. They're
Synced.
Thank you. They're synced together. Everything goes in that iPad. I mean, everything. So any given day, I can pull it up and see what's on my schedule for today, tomorrow, the next week, the next month. My husband will usually look at it in the morning, and if there's something he knows I need to remember, he'll call me and say, no, don't forget, it's in a half an hour or whatever. Because looking at it in the morning, okay, well, that was in the morning. That doesn't mean I'm going to remember it at 1 o'clock. So he'll call me if there's things that he knows I need to get done that day. But for me, seeing everything in writing helps me a lot more than somebody just telling me. I don't do well with the verbal. You tell me verbally, forget it. But seeing it in writing is just so helpful to me.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from you is seeing it in writing in the same place again. So there's the routine of where it's documented, so you know where to find it. Because I think that's one of the horrible things nowadays is we communicate in so many different ways. It's hard. It's like, okay, was it on Facebook? Was it on email? Was it on my phone? Was it a text? Was it a voicemail? Is it LinkedIn? I know I talked to him, but where is it? And then where did I put it? And so making sure it all gets into that one spot.
This has also become part of my routine. And if you really want to see me freak out, watch when I don't know where this is. And that's because like Laurie said, I look at this several times a day. I look at it before I go to bed at night. I look at it first thing in the morning and several times during the day, because this tells me what I do. This is a major part of my routine. And without it, but it doesn't make me feel so bad, because so many people that I've talked to, they say, well, Brian, I don't have Alzheimer's, but I use that for everything. I look at my phone for my calendar. I said, yeah, but the difference is that somebody can tell you hey, don't forget we're going to lunch today. And when lunchtime comes around, you're going to be there for lunch. I said, I'll still be sitting at my house. You know, that's the difference in, you know, you can use that, but the verbal, like Laurie was saying, that verbal communication, that doesn't work any longer.
Mm-hmm.
I use a calendar. I have a giant calendar, and I write everything on there. I write not only appointments and things I have to do, but everything I need to do. Like if I was supposed to make a phone call to somebody, or if I was supposed to pay a bill, or something I was supposed to do. And I keep everything on track on there because, again, it has to be visual, and it has to be something I look at every day.
Good, good. Laurie, you had another comment?
I did. I agree. My iPad and iPhone have become our life for both of us because we both can see what's happening. But we were talking about adapting and how little things can throw us off. I had an appointment to take the dogs to the vet, and I had in the iPad 5:30. And I put it in there when I was on the phone with them. A new girl at the vet called us the other day and said, I'm calling to confirm your appointment. It's at 5:50. No, it's at 5:30. That's what my iPad says. No, it's 5:50. That sent me into such a confusion. I couldn't find where anything was. I was all disoriented. And finally, the next day, Roy called the vet back, and he said, you know, we're a little confused because the iPad says 5:30, and Laurie writes everything in the iPad. Well, it turns out the new girl gave us the wrong time. She was looking at the scheduling wrong. And my iPad was right. But just that little thing, her telling me the wrong time, I was so disoriented and so confused. I couldn't cook dinner that night. I just couldn't think. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the little things that can trigger going off. So I can't imagine if I didn't have a routine of doing the same thing, adaptability of putting everything in the iPad, looking at the iPad every morning and a few times throughout the day. I can't imagine what my life would be like if we took that out of the mixture.
Yeah, but look at it this way. Look at it as being a small victory for you that you had the right time. So enjoy and embrace that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but did you change it to the 5:50 and then have to change it back again?
No, I didn't change it.
Michael, you had a question? Or a comment?
That brings a very common problem between all of us, I think. There's times that we are right, but we second guess ourselves because somebody else says something, and we think they're right just because we have the dementia. But I hate to imagine how many times we probably are right, and unfortunately, we don't trust ourselves anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we can all start watching for that. Make better notes.
Say it's the small victories, you know, because it happens so rare. And then you go, I was right. And of course I tell everybody that I know that I was right.
What was very funny was this girl was arguing with me. I'm saying, no, I know it's 5:30. No, it's 5:50. Thinking, I must have written it down wrong. You know, and I'm really, second guessing myself. But then also going, oh, Laurie, come on, you can't get anything right. So when I was right, it was like, yes.
Yeah. Happy dance.
Well, I think it's hard too. I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but I trust. I mean, and I say that in every sense of the word trust. When my family or those who help me say something I may disagree or question, but then I remind myself these are the people I've chosen to fully trust, and they know what that word means to me. So if I am in doubt, I remind myself so it doesn't go off into cray-cray land. I just tell myself, now they wouldn't say that because you can you trust them.
Mhm.
And I can be still with that because that is a very deep root word for me. So when I sense that, oh no, now wait, that, I don't recover from that very well. And I don't like what it does to me. So learning to just say, it's okay because I trust them. And if it was wrong, they would have to deal with that now.
It also helps with the person that is talking with you if they don't use an accusatory voice or accusatory term. If I say something or if I ask the same question, Shannon, that's my wife, she'll tell me, she says, okay, you may not remember, however, 2 days ago we had this conversation and this is what we talked about. So, you know, and she says it very non-accusatory. She just says it as a matter of fact because I've asked her to, that not because it's going to help me not do it anymore because I know I'm going to do it. I just kind of like to know what happens and if I've said it before. And so she tells me, and I told him one time, I said, you know something? I said, this is not right. I said, because you can tell me anything that happened 2 days ago. And I said, I'm going to believe you. So be careful.
Brian, you know, my husband does that. He tells me, he waits until I've said it like the 10th time or something. And then he sits me down and he says, okay, just to let you know, we talked about this. And I'll tell you what, I remember that I told him a lot better after he said something.
Right.
And I think it's because then it's emotional to me. I'm like, oh my golly, I've been repeating myself, what he must go through, the emotion that he puts into it, just because now I'm thinking, oh, I've repeated this. I remember telling him at that point.
That's why I firmly believe that our caregivers who are care partners, but they're also superheroes. You know, yes, I have on my Superman shirt today, but I also got Shannon a Superman or a Superwoman shirt, which is prettier than mine. But anyway, I got her that. But it's true. I mean, because of the fact that what they do, you know, because Laurie, we all go through the same thing. When people tell us that you have told us that before, it's like, oh God, why did I do that? But they are these incredible people that have been a part of our lives before, and then now they're having to do these tasks that they never thought they would ever have to do, and they do it time and time again. And it may aggravate them, and sometimes they show it, but more than not, they don't. And I just think that they are amazing people.
So they now have, so that when we talk about routine, look how much their routine have changed to accommodate our day in and day out best can be.
Exactly.
Very, very good them do.
Yep. Well, what a good note to wrap up things on, you know. It just is really that team effort and showing that appreciation, I think, for one another. I just want to wrap up again with a plug for the Nashville piece for PBS. You can go to www.pbs.org/video, and then there's a number 23657891188. I'll post it on the blog and stuff here later, and I'll have that information when I do the recording. And then also, Paulan had mentioned dementiamentors.org, which is just a great place for people who are recently diagnosed to connect with those who have been living with the disease for a while. I want to thank you guys again so much for all your wonderful insights. Again, I always learn so much from you every single time. Our next session will not be until July, and that will be July 12th. So have a good 4th of July weekend, and we'll talk soon.